This is numbers 1 through 3 on the quiz study guide. So we're supposed to find the volume for each of these shapes here. The first one I have is a prism. I recognize that it's a prism because I have two bases here, which are going to be these sides, are rectangles, and then it's got sides all the way around it. It doesn't come together at a point. So now that I know that I have a prism, I'm going to use the volume formula for a prism, which is volume is base times height. Now that is big B, representing the area of the base. So when we look at the base shape here, we've got this rectangle, so essentially it kind of looks like this, where we have a 2-yard by a 10-yard. That is the rectangle that's on this side here. So to find the area of it, we're going to do our length times our width, so length times the width. That's the area of the base, so that represents B, times how tall is our prism? Our prism is actually going to be 16 yards tall. Now, you could technically have called some other kind of side there to be the base shape. However, when you're using the commutative property here, or even the associative property, it doesn't matter what order you multiply these in. So now we've got 10 times 2 times 16, and that's going to give us a volume here of 320, but we need to make sure we put a unit on it. It's going to be 320 yards squared when we finish. Yards cubed. It actually needs to be cubed because it's yards times yards times yards. Area would be squared, volume is cubed. Now we move into number 2. Number 2, what I see here is that, again, it's all coming together, not at a point, but there's two of these bases, the bases being triangles, and because of that, this is what we call a triangular prism. Therefore, we're still going to use the volume formula of the area of the base times the height. Now, if I look at just a basic triangle, notice that the edges are 5, 5, and 5. That makes it equilateral, which means that each of these angles has to be the same thing, 60, 60, and 60. So if I drop an altitude here, now all of a sudden that angle is going to be 30 degrees. And this side right here is going to be 2.5. It's going to be half of it. So basically now I've got a right triangle, and this is the right angle. This is going to be 2.5 units. That right there is going to be 30 degrees. And if I want to find this side right here, I can use a little trig ratio to find it. I could also use Pythagorean theorem if this was 5 here, where we have leg squared plus leg squared equals the hypotenuse squared. Or you can use special right triangles. You have 3 different options. I'm going to use trig. So I'm going to notice that right across from the 30 degrees is this 2.5. So that would be considered opposite. And then this side, this other leg would be considered adjacent. So opposite and adjacent mean we're going to use tangent. So we're going to do tangent of 30 degrees, remember whatever comes after the word is always degrees, is equal to the opposite, 2.5, over the adjacent. Now I can't have an x in the denominator here, so I'm going to multiply both sides by x. So x tangent of 30 degrees is equal to 2.5. Now if I divide both sides here by tangent of 30, x is going to be 2.5 divided by tangent of 30 degrees. And that's what you can actually put into your calculator so that you know how to actually solve this. And so basically here, if we're going decimal version, we got about 4.3. If you were actually using special right triangles, that would have been 2.5 square root of 3. So here we're going to say it's about 4.5 or 4.3. So that would be the altitude for my base right here, is about 4.3. So what I'm going to do now is find the area of the base. So volume is the area of the base, and the area formula for a triangle is 1/2 the base, which is 5 here, times the height, which we just found to be about 4.3. And then that's going to be multiplied times how tall this prism is from base to base, which would be 8. So in the calculator, I would actually put 1/2 or 0.5 times 5 times 4.3 times 8. And what I get is a volume of about 86 units, and so 86 feet cubed for the volume formula for this particular shape. Now if we go into the cube, what we know about a cube is that all the sides are congruent. And so again, we're going to have a prism here, so the area of the base times the height. The base shape of a cube is a square, so the area of a square would be 9 times itself, because the sides are all congruent, times the height of this cube is still the same number, times 9. So that's really like saying that we have 9 times 9 times 9, or 9 cubed, which is actually going to be 729. And because it's inches, it's going to be inches cubed to be our final answer.